I am using a beautiful new microphone from my dear friend Shanandan. How does it sound? He sent it along and he said, people should be able to hear what you're saying. So he ordered a nice microphone. So we're checking it out. Sounds good? All right. Aloha fam fam. We are going to share about the mechanics of the Maia. And if this love stream is helpful, please like it, love it, and share it. Give something back. That's how we expand this energy of a true gifting economy. Gifting doesn't have to look one way, it can look many. A nice like or love or sharing of a video, a love stream that's helpful, is a wonderful way of gifting. So, there has been major amazing upgrades for us in our consciousness, and everything is moving along slowly in terms of speed, you could say. Speed as in time doesn't exist. And so when things move along slowly because time no longer exists, our potential is amazing. Because our potential is quantum. So it's kind of a funny little way of saying that things are moving along quickly. Ramona! Aloha! Magdalene Moondrop. Aloha! So, I have been sharing all that is coming through me that is perhaps of assistance and helpful for others to keep their vibration uplifted. And sometimes just by getting a simple understanding of what it is that we are feeling, and it's languaged by another, that can be very helpful. And that's one thing that I know that comes through me is helpful, is putting words to what we are experiencing. And then, hi Ruthie. And then also explaining some simple mechanics to keep encouraging us along to help us understand why are we doing the work that we're doing to balance the internal waters of our beautiful bodies. Why would we still them? So, here's the mechanics one more time. We talk about Kundalini and rising the energy up on every love stream and explain why you want to get the Kundalini from the root chakra to stay up here at the top of the head. That's where the lovers exist. That's where everything unifies. It begins in the heart, the unification of our masculine and feminine, and then in the top of our head where the pineal and all those wonderful things exist. The thalamic gate opens up. The scarab. So, this is the mechanics of you and me and our physicality and our flesh suits. Which is why do not seek outside of the self for too long for the beloved or something to fulfill us. Use that seeking and that hunger to continue to turn us inward, because this is like turning on our light ship. So if we were in a helicopter and we were distracted by all of the things outside of us, walking by the helicopter, we might not get the helicopter turned on, or it might get turned on for us, and someone else might be the pilot. So that's why I call these Flight Lessons 101, to continue to share how to do this. So there's many simple ways that come through to break down the mechanics of the Maia of our physical flesh. And That's what's coming through the love streams. I'm taking you on a little walk up a beautiful hill. I'd love to share it with you. It's so gorgeous. Ooh. The deer love to sleep up here. A lovely vortex. Okay, so another wonderful, amazing way came in this morning in meditation, how to explain the mechanics of what we are doing. I will have a little seat on this rock to share with us. So if we think of it like this, the lower three chakras, as we know them, are the lower functioning systems of our potential and who we are. And if this love stream is helpful, please share it. And maybe share it right now so others can also find it while we're connecting. Michael! Aloha. Aloha, Guillerme and Chandra. Okay, so yes, if we think of the lower three chakras as the foundation of the system, and if you know what the I Ching looks like, the I Ching looks like a circle with lines and dots. It's mechanics of the Maia, of the two-strand, of the 64 codons, of polarity, of duality. That's where that all sits within us in the solar plexus. So there's an expression that came to the transmission this morning when I was in bed, and it said, there is a time and a season for everything under the sun. And basically what the guidance was showing is that time and seasons and cycles exist beneath the sun, which is the solar plexus. So the goal is to get beyond that solar plexus and rise up into the higher functioning of who we are, which takes us into a transcendence of time, which is one of the final steps to what we would call ascension of the physical form in a two-strand carbon-based body. So the solar plexus is where the blueprint of the 64 codons sits, and the 64 codons work in pairs together, 32. So they work in pairs because they work as polar opposites. And they empower each other. So the blueprint that we are in is not who we are. It's just a little game to create pressure. Like I always say, I'll show you your blueprint, but you're not your blueprint, and I'm a blueprint buster. It's just simply understanding the mechanics, which is what all of these love streams are about, because we can receive all kinds of things outside of ourselves. You know that expression, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach him the mechanics of his own Maia, and he will unlock himself. That's the new expression. So once we understand the mechanics of how it all works, once we understand how our car works, how to drive it, we can drive it. That's what these mechanics are to help with. So back to the solar plexus and the I Ching and the 64 codons. The blueprint that we were in was coded in the solar plexus. Therefore, root chakra in the shadow frequency is survival. Root chakra of the sacral is about reproduction, carrying the species forward. The solar plexus is the will center, which means one must get their kundalini up beyond survival and reproduction into the will center to actually even begin to ask questions. Isn't there more? Once we come to the will center, we can begin to assert our will on those two other lower nature aspects of survival and reproduction. That is how the will center works. Hi, Marianne. So once we are in the will center, and if this love stream is helpful, please share it. You know I keep saying that now, and I just keep will. If it's helpful, love it, like it, share it, give a little energy back to it. That is the flow of gifting. So we must move into the will to begin to question. You know, little 2-year-olds are really good at questioning. They're like, why? Why, Mommy? They're probably really well invested in their solar plexus. Maybe a little bit smarter than how in the old game we got a little bit indoctrinated. But we're past that now. So, the Kundalini. Why do we want to meditate? You know, and if people are listening and they have children or grandchildren, please meditate with them. Please teach them to meditate from day one. Please meditate with them in the womb. Please meditate with them before conception. Meditate. This is very common in many countries for young children to meditate. I posted something on my Facebook wall a while ago about young children. I believe they were in China and they were meditating. And they looked like maybe they were 2 years old. And it was such a beautiful video to watch. It's quite a popular one. So with all of us, let us meditate together, let us meditate with our children, because what is meditation doing? It is keeping the Kundalini up. When the Kundalini, the serpent that is coiled at the base of the spine, that is the 15. That is where all of the codes and coordinates sit of the living library of creation, really. It's like the library lives within us, so let us enter it by rising our Kundalini up. And so, once we rise it up past survival and past reproduction, and we get it into the will center, we're doing pretty good. When we start to ask the questions and say, is there something more? So yes, there is. Do your meditations, get into a whole brain state, cross the ankles, cross the wrists, close the eyes, clasp the hands, deep breathe, and draw the energy up to the top of the head. Joe Dispenza does a wonderful job of explaining all of this in his book, Becoming Supernatural, and all of his courses and many, many other systems teach this as well. Ancient and always knowledge. I just like to go to Joe because he's written some great books on it that's simplified. He has a great way of making sense of it and showing the actual mechanics of why one would meditate and how all the mechanics actually work in the neurotransmitters and all of that. And so for our brains, sometimes it's helpful to know. So once the Kundalini strikes the solar plexus and begins to hold itself in that presence, there is an opportunity to keep going, to rise the energy up into love, into the heart. And that is where the polarities unify, is in the heart. And once the Kundalini begins to stay in the heart, then our thought process changes. Because now we have the unification of the beloveds beginning to occur inside of us. We're beginning to be filled with love and no longer seeking outside of us. And now higher consciousness is coming in and we are becoming more intelligent, not book read, cosmic. So as the Kundalini rises up and we begin to activate the solar plexus, the blueprint, the I Ching, the 64 codons, and the energy stays beyond the solar plexus of will, something remarkable happens as we rise the Kundalini higher into the heart, through the throat, through the amygdala, into the pineal, through the crown. All of these new systems start functioning. And we move from the lower will, which was the one that started to say, isn't there something more than this? into what we call divine will, which begins to flood us. When we hold this steady state of the whole brain and the kundalini is risen to the top of the head, we begin to feel different, amazing. And we begin to transcend the limitation of the blueprint, the personality, the small self. We begin to transcend it. That's why things start changing for us. That's why we begin to go, I don't know if this relationship is the one for me anymore. So here's the thing about relationships and the 64 codons and the clock. It's really cool. Oh. My microphone's still... Hang on, I dropped the mic. I dropped my nice little microphone, my gift from Shannon. I stepped on the cord. It came off. Hang on. Un momento. Look at the trees. Or the sky. Por favor. Okay, there we go. All right. So. Yes. Now, where were we? Let me tune into this transmission. Here's the thing about the I Ching clock. So we lived in a world that said, get married, buy a house, have children, or if we were in different countries, we would be in an arranged marriage and sold off, really, traded. And so marriage was a convenience to the state, so to speak, because it kept people unified. It created a structure we called tribe and family. And here's the thing about the two-strand DNA and the 64 codons of duality, which is why the Hopi prophecy said at this time, men and women will live apart, because as the I Ching, so think about the I Ching, it sits right here in the solar plexus. It is affected by the sun. The sun moves through it like a clock. And as the sun goes through, it activates a different codon and a different archetype every cycle. Every single one of us has that inside of us. So, as it is activating a different archetype as the sun moves through each one, we are having a unique experience of ourselves and everyone. So, the dynamics that we were told about relationship, family, and tribe to understand the mechanics and how they work, so that when we go into our meditations, things make sense for why we're doing it. So as we feel and draw our Kundalini up from the root and through the sacral, we can go, I'm rising it up out of survival, I'm rising it through reproduction, I'm rising it through the will, now I'm rising it into the heart chakra, now my polarities are unifying, and now I am on the home stretch for liberating myself from a 2-strand DNA blueprint. And of course we already are. And still, this sharing is helpful for everyone. So, yes, in the meditation, you can say this. You can feel it as you draw the Kundalini up, as you rise it up through your central channel, activating all those centers, just the same way if you were a pilot. You would go, all right, turn on this dial, do this thing, do that thing in the helicopter. Same. And when the pilot does it, the pilot knows that the helicopter is activating. We are Merkabas. We are light shifts. This is Flight Lessons 101. So now I feel my Kundalini go through my will center, my center that I questioned, why is this all there is? Now my Kundalini is rising into my heart, where my polarities are unifying, and now it's going through the doth, the voice. This small little section here where it really gets squished through. Why? Because this is a point of purification. This is a point of purification because once the polarities that are unified can actually pass through and then activate the amygdala and into the pineal, well, now we're getting fairly purified because we are preparing our throat chakra for the higher self to move in and take over and start informing us by the things that we allow to come through our mouth, because now something higher is speaking through us and we go, wow, did you hear what just came through me? Where did I get that from? Cosmic. It's cosmic. There is no such thing as copyright in the cosmos, only in one fabricated reality. So as the energy rises up, and now we're holding it in our head and allowing for the pressure to sit there and activate all of those higher chakras. And we're starting to feel quite clear, and we're starting to get new messages. We're starting to be still. We're starting not to react to the book of changes, to that I Ching clock inside of us that is tick, tick, ticking. Now we are actually rising up beyond those lower mechanics. We, through our free will, made a choice to activate ourselves and get beyond it. It's a gift. It's all inside of us. So the Kundalini rises into the head, and one of the things that I have said is once we start to feel quite still inside, then pray to be the Bodhisattva. Bodhisattvas bring an end to all suffering. Pray to be the Bodhisattva. Why? Because when we make that prayer, please let me be a vessel to bring the end to all suffering. Suffering is separation. Separation from source. It's a thought consciousness. It's a morphogenic field to play in. So when we make the prayer, please let me be a vessel to bring an end to all suffering. Let me be the Bodhisattva. Whose suffering are we ending but our own, which is separation. The original sin means separation from source consciousness. So as we pray, now we are holding our field intact and we are praying, please let me be the Bodhisattva. That is actually igniting the process to bring together all of the cells in our body, because who are suffering but our cells, which are in entropy. When we are in our lower nature, the body is dying, but the body is programmed for genesis as we rise our energy up. So when we pray to be the Bodhisattva, we think maybe we're praying for things outside of ourselves, and, maybe we are, because it's all our creation, and The prayer unifies every organism and cell that makes up our body, and something magical begins to happen. We become flooded with the essence of grace and love. It really happens. And then what starts happening in the pineal is we start opening up the stargates. We start experiencing the natural cadence, the natural rhythm, the natural neurotransmitters that are actually in our body. No plant medicine or anything else required, because we are the alchemical flying ship with everything in us. We are self-sustaining, self-generating, self-regulating. That's who we are, and we always were. We never needed anything outside of ourselves. We just played a little game and pretended. So we really start to come into that place, and the body becomes more efficient at everything it does, and we need not so much rest and all of those things. And also we're very still. We're not running around doing the Nike just do it. Create, create, create outside of the self. Now we're much more balanced, because we're balancing the internal and the external world together. This is key. When we find that things are out of balance, just check in and go, am I doing too much inward time? Am I doing too much outward time? Am I too focused on the external world? Oh, how gorgeous. Amazing deer. Didn't even see I was here. Didn't see we were here. Can you see the deer there? The deer love it here. They come here because it's so beautiful, and there's a lovely vortex. They like to sleep up here. That was so beautiful. Just strolled right by quietly for all of us. Creation. All right, so yes, now we've prayed to bring an end to all suffering, which means bring an end to all separation within ourselves. Oh my God. Gorgeous. Look at the, can you see his horns? That is a full rack. I hope I have my camera pointed in the right place. Oh, I don't want to move too much. Did you see the deer with the rack of horns? Wow. They're just strolling by. I love that, because I keep having these amazing visions, which I had from the time I was a child, of sitting with the lions again. And I'm having these amazing experiences in my meditations of all of the animals just starting to walk in, and the birds, the eagles, gently with their talons sitting and landing on our shoulders, and the deer coming to lie with us, and how fabulous. So here they are. They showed up. There's probably more coming. We had a lot of little babies in the garden this summer. Wow. We are blessed. Okay, so we have prayed to be the Bodhisattva. Please use my vehicle as a vessel to bring the end to all suffering. And then we are flooded with a beautiful endocrine system, which really fills us up, and it starts to unify every cell in our body. Thine eye fills with light, and suddenly consciousness is looking through all cells within us as though it is one eye, because the body fills with light. And we have these experiences and go like, oh my God, I'm not just seeing through my eyes, I'm seeing same through my entire body. Every cell is one eye. Mechanics of the Maia. And there might be a few little things like dizziness and stuff that come along the way. Don't worry about it. Just navigate it. Stay with it. Just stay with the feeling. Go into the feeling. Don't resist it. Don't go away from it. because we are perfects and we know how to navigate. So just stay with it and breathe, be with the breath. Enjoy. All right, so I have been having some lovely chats with dear Lawrence Wendell, who has been following on the love streams also. And he has been assisting with the consciousness in other wonderful and unique ways for our transformation. And so it's really cool communicating with him because he communed with others on the One People's Public Trust and all those things, which of course is all connected. So I speak about it from the place of the DNA, but it's all the same language and wording. And one thing that is really wonderful is consent. The word consent, very powerful word. And many people who know who worked with the navigation of what was called legal learned consent as an important word. I did not give my consent. So, when we are applying this same phrase in the navigation of the mechanics of our Maia, this is how I like to do it. Now we've prayed to be the Bodhisattva, and everything is really coming into a major alignment, and our helicopter, our light ship, is really starting to take off. We don't have a lot of shamans teaching these mechanics to us. And so, step by step, we share what we can with each other. Okay, clear that off the screen. Next step, really powerful, profound one, is now we are in the subtle realms of energy because we are really getting our light ships turned on. We are perfects at keeping our energy up all the time, not by doing it from the place of the mind going, I gotta be happy, but because like a muscle, we have worked that kundalini to strengthen it, to stay up. And we know how it feels. We can memorize the feelings so that we know when it's going down, and we just use whatever tools and techniques, I share them often, work for us. Just use the little tools and techniques to keep it up there. Now we are becoming very perfected at flying our ship. And, we're opening the stargates in us because we're all coming together for tea, Pleiadian blue spirulina popcorn on ship, or wherever we wanted, by a lovely waterfall swimming with dolphins together. No airplanes, no cars, no none of that. Not even a need to pay for power, which is just stealing a Hertz frequency wave and tuning into it and convincing us in the old story that we needed to pay for it. When we are attuned to frequency, we are the antenna and we can tune into it all. Okay, so nobody should own frequency or waves. They belong to all of us. So now we're getting very attuned, and the next piece, and we will write out, Elawan, who's living at the monastery here with me, has been just diligent at writing all of this down and helping to compartmentalize these amazing teachings. They're shortcuts through. Just a simple little love stream, and someone goes back into meditation and goes like, wow, Unity Grace, thank you so much. This makes so much sense. I just took a massive quantum leap, and a stargate opened in my bedroom. And I'll say, did you walk through? Did you come for tea? Let's do it. Because we are the ones we have been waiting for to play with our spidey gifts. Okay, so now we're super attuned, and what we do, and we can do this at any level, but it really comes in well at every level, especially the fine attunement. I do not consent. I do consent. So now we're getting super attuned to the energy, or maybe even when we're down in the lower chakras, we might want to use this, is to begin to say, it just becomes more powerful the more attuned we become, the more still we become, the more we transcend the lower nature and fear. Now our word has power. I do not consent. And what do we say that to? We say it to anything in our reality, our thought consciousness, our belief systems, ideas floating by our radar that we do not consent to. It's that simple. And we become extremely powerful when we learn neutral, balancing the emotional waters of the body, which is what all these Flight Lessons 101 are about. Stillness, neutral. Not suppression. Okay, so if anything shows up in the field now that is subtle, I do not consent. Oh, you pesky little thought. There you are again. I do not consent to you being in my field. I do not consent to you in my awareness. I do not consent. Another thought, I consent. I consent to you being in my awareness, in my creation. This is how powerful I am. Hi, Lawrence. Just sharing. Not sure if you just tuned in, but I was just sharing about some of our communions and the languaging of things like One People's Public Trust and how I apply it to the DNA decoding, because it's all same. The mechanics of the Maia programmed in our body. So it's been really great reconnecting with Lawrence after meeting in 2011 at IONS. We do this together. We all share the powerful pieces that have been powerful for us. Our word is power, especially when it comes from neutral and when we have stilled the waters of our body, and it is our higher self that speaks through us, because our higher self speaks source code metadata, which doesn't make sense to the mind of duality or two-strand DNA. And so when it starts coming through us, people might say, or at least they did in the past, because this doesn't exist anymore yet, people would go, I only understand 10% of what you're saying, but it all really resonates. That's because what people were hearing coming through us was source code metadata, which is what starts to happen once we get our systems activated. The higher self, which is working from playing from many other levels through us, is bringing us into attunement through the words. And more important than the words is the space between the words, because it's a harmonic called sophionic, where the particle and the wave converge. Promise. So anything pesky that might show up in our external environment, which is our creation, it's a reflection of the internal world going on. Just, I do not give my consent and place our awareness elsewhere. Yes, all new creation. Hey, Lawrence. Nice that you tuned in. I forgot to tag you. Or maybe I didn't. Yes, living in the now, Lawrence says, 150 bajillion%. It's all about learning presence. This is why we do it. So that's why I do these love streams, to help us understand wherever we are at. Why do we do this? Why do we apply these mechanics? The lower self, I say that the lower self is like that pain body. We checked into Schickshadel to get over our addiction to pain or suffering, and we left the pain body at the door. Now maybe we want to invite the pain body in to go through the same program and unify with us, and that is the end of separation. And then suddenly we find ourselves very present, very still, and this is where true creation occurs, in the stillness, because now we have the full conscious sovereign capacity to place our focus upon things. And what are those things? Those things are not things that we could come up with from the desire part of the mind, which is connected to the lower sacral. The things that start to show up in our reality are placed there by the higher self that leads us on. It's like the funny little metaphor that I use about finding the roti on the side of the road in the middle of the night, a lost dog, and going, oh, honey, we've got to get him in the car and get him safe. So you pull out some cheesies in the glove box. I love cheesies. And you go, come on, get in the car. And so the roti likes the cheese. the cheesies. And he gets in the car. And I've done that with many dogs along the way. Spent several years volunteering with the SPCA and just had to stop doing it because I kept bringing sick animals home and I needed to get traveling around the world and do what I do. So the higher self, there's nothing wrong with desire, and the higher self pulls us along by allowing us to work through the desire natures, which create the experiences that we have. And over time we go, I don't need any more of those experiences anymore, which is when we go through the solar plexus and activate the free will, which says there must be something more than this, which takes the energy into the heart, which creates heartfelt experiences, which then allows the energy to go through the throat. The amygdala, Mary Magdalene, same. Body fills with light. What was the metaphor of Magdalene really all about but the mechanics of the Maia within us? So now the higher self begins to drop visions in, and we go like, whoa, where is this coming from? Like, I could never have made this up. That's because the higher self is sourcing from a higher consciousness. It's cosmic. And now it is downloading into the flesh, and this is physical ascension. The working together of that aspect of the self and the part of us that is in the flesh suit with conscious awareness. This is the true love making of the bride and the bridegroom, the beloved. It's amazing. So, Miss Elawan and I have made lots of notes, and she's been working on creating our little book to help people out, Flight Lessons 101. So grateful. And we have also been posting on Spreaker all of our love streams. Miss Ruthie Joy has been doing that for us. So Spreaker.com, if you go to Unity Transmissions at Spreaker.com, you can just listen to the audio. And I am going to start uploading transmissions that we have been doing inside the pod, which come out pretty much 24/7 if there is such a thing, which there isn't. Yes, the love streams, the transmissions come through steadily to help steer us in the right direction, you could say. They're very helpful. And we're going to start uploading some of the ones that we have shared together, which we have months and months of them now, maybe hundreds, who knows. And we'll be uploading those on Spreaker as well. So, final piece to share in this love stream is have a great sense of humor. Oh, did you hear those birds in the background? They were roosters and chickens. They just sounded like they were laughing. Have a great sense of humor. Keep it light. And keep steering our light ships, realizing that we're learning to navigate and it's all our creation outside of us. So be gentle on ourselves and be playful and go, oh gosh, look what I created now. Well, just go right back in and we can create something different. That's the most important thing to understand, is that it can happen in the instant when we live in the now. And that's the joy of instant manifestation, as some people call it. So it's a game, play with it, stay with it. Don't fall off the horse, don't come off the bike, just keep pedaling. Beyond the speed of light. Don't stop at the speed of light, go beyond the speed of light. And once we follow all of these mechanics that I've been sharing about, and the Kundalini rises up, and then the beloveds, the lovers are now connected, the root to the crown. Now, the crown opens up. That's the branching of the tree of life, and it begins to source in the cosmic. That is a whole new neural network coming into the head. Massive. That's transformation. That's unity consciousness, 9th wave, and so beyond it. Wholeness Navigator Training Ground. Yes, that's what I say when I had one of my amazing brain maps in 2014 and went all the way home. and was shown the mechanics of the Maya to share them. I say that the only things I experienced there was no feeling, there was no love, there was no emotion, there was no language, but what I experienced was wholeness and curiosity to have an experience. And that's why we're here. And now we're remembering how to transform our external reality from within us. We don't need external technology to do it. We are the technology, and the technology is the technology of love, which is really what these mechanics are about. The book of love in the tree of life is how to unplug ourselves from two-strand DNA, from the bondage of the cross of time and space. That's true love. So, I gotta say that in going into the book of love in the tree of life, it's not how the lower nature imagines it. It's mechanics to do this. So have a great sense of humor and keep creating and keep playing and create other versions of ourselves to play with and celebrate, because it's really about connection. And once we are connected to Source, or we remember our connection to Source, then we can actually really begin connecting with each other, because we are all same. We are all of the one. That is the game we played. Yes. So, I'm so grateful for everyone who tuned in. Thank you. You're epic. And if it's helpful, please love, like, and share. All of the above are awesome. Love is preferable because I like those little hearts versus the thumbs up. But, sovereign. Please share. And let's play together and create beautiful, amazing creations. Beauty being key. The very powerful coding to the word beauty. So let beauty be within all of creation. Shall we end with light language, our light language symphony that we like to do sometimes? Hi, Marie. Erica. Aloha. All right, let's do our little light language symphony, because the language of light resides in all of us. That's what they called baby talk when we first came into the world, but it's not a bunch of goo-goo gaga. It's actually us connecting to the vocal coordinates within us. If you just allow it to flow through us. Here we go. Let's end with our symphony of light language and tune in again together in the miracle. Koyana tayano tuchianai aya totukui china tutukuini puya tiano toko shututue ayani kia kukokonai treapuno tutukui shia rikine ayani tia tututui ashtano tukunu teako yatinite ayastano tukue. And my favorite word, aloha. Namaste.